pre-on-air time fun here. So, damn it. So today we've got Mark McCulley with us from Great East Mortgage, and Mark is going to give us kind of what's happening with the mortgage market and mortgage industry. Pretty interesting events. So before I audience Mark, though, I want to just recognize our top teammates for August. So for the Mediha Farag from our #1 agent, and Christine Houston from the Keene office was #2, and Carol Camp from the Durham office was #3. So congratulations. And up in Maine, Terry Hunt from Bangor was #1. Congratulations, Terry. And Casey Hardwick from Ellsworth was #2, and Lindsay Ramsey from York was #3. So congratulations to all of you. On the team side in New Hampshire, Vermont, Pam Cameron and her team with her son Andrew were #1, and the Gina team in Maine was #1. So congratulations to everybody on the top teammate side. And on the Great East side, Sandy Elaine from Great East Insurance had 17 new policies, and Catherine Kessler on Great East Title had 44 closings. Busy month, Catherine, congratulations. And Greg Curry, the mortgage productive month all the way around. Congratulations for all the good work you guys continue to do. So, Mark, tell us about the 0% interest, no points, 50-year loan program you've got.
So, can you hear me okay, Chris?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So, first of all, thanks for having me today. What's interesting is since we last spoke on Tuesday, rates have gone up. So my conversation with you on Tuesday slightly changed, and I'll get into that in just a minute because I still think we have not seen the lowest rates. In fact, I'd still go out on a limb today and say that potentially by the end of the year, you could see the lowest mortgage interest rates in the history of mortgage interest rates going back to 1971. So I'll touch on that. But Chris, if I could, I'd like to start just by saying thank you to the entire Masiello team. I'd like to share some of the offices that have been at 30% or better through July. And Chris, as you and I know, anytime you're above 20%, you're a rock star. And in some of these cases, we're at above 40%. So we have 9 offices through July. I just wanted to say thank you to the manager and the entire team. They are Concord, Peterborough, Keene, Londonderry, Atkinson, Naples, York, Hampton, and Sanford. To all of you, so much. I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity. That's really all this is about, letting us earn the business, and hopefully we're there for you every step of the way. So again, thank you. So, rates. So Chris and I had a partners meeting last Tuesday, and at the time, to understand how mortgage rates work, the bond market was at about 1.42. The lowest it's ever been in the history of bonds is about 1.31. I told Chris at the time that I had some pretty good understanding that mortgage rates would dip down to about 3.1%, maybe as low as 3% on the 30-year with no points. Of course, as soon as I had that conversation with them, the bond market it significantly went up to the tune of about 50 basis points. Today, we're seeing mortgage rates at about 3.875 on the 30-year with no points. I will tell you that the Fed is meeting today, and although I can't tell you that rates will respond to that, it's very likely that the Fed will reduce the rate, but it may have 0 to a negative impact on mortgage rates in the short term. So I guess my message regarding rates would be, first of all, if I had inside knowledge on this, I'd be a billionaire, and it's proof of my meeting from last Tuesday to this Tuesday. But I do feel like in the short term, rates may come up a little bit, maybe spike at 4 1/8. But I do believe by the time we get to the end of the year, we are going to see rates somewhere below 4% on 30-year fixed.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot of pressure, right, on the money supply or the mortgage market. So there's not a reason really for them to remain this high. Some of it's just a blip with, oil pricing and things like that, right?
No question. And, of course, bonds hate inflation. There's a hint of inflation right now. So, It's a really tough call, but you know, everybody, including, I shared this with you last time, Chris, Lawrence Young, the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, is essentially saying the same thing. He sees interest rates by the end of the year potentially being at an all-time low. So that's good news for all of us in terms of what this could mean. I also shared this with Chris and the team last week. You know, we've had 3 consecutive months of record-breaking production, July, August, and what looks to be September. The majority of that is purchase business for us. So in spite of the challenges with inventory and so forth, we are really seeing a strong market. And if rates continue to cooperate, it may be a really good fall and winter as well.
Yeah, I think it will be. You know, you've got a robust economy, right? And that's not changing. And it's funny how you hear these like hints of recession, but in a, you know, maybe in a traditional sense, the way we knew the economy 20 years ago, right? But it just doesn't seem likely. What do you see happening with underwriting?
So underwriting right now is loosening up. There's some chatter out there that Fannie Mae may tweak the DU models a little bit and sort of lower the back end debt to income ratio. You know, right now I would tell you that I think there's a lot of comfort in the quality of the loans that are coming in. There are those 6 pieces that we review every time. And so the buyers that deserve a home get a home, and those that are borderline aren't. And I would tell you that we're not going back to subprime, even though you will hear the word non-QM. So non-QM just means a loan that we can't sell to the secondary market. And there are resemblances to the old subprime mortgages, but make no mistake about it, they're not them. We are not going to get into stupid, foolish lending that could potentially cripple our industry, never mind the economy.
What about appraisals?
Hit or miss, depending on market. You know, we have seen an appreciation of value in some markets out there. We're seeing more home inspection issues, Chris, to be quite frank about it, than we are appraisal issues.
Right.
If the house is listed at a fair price, there's very few instances where the appraisal comes back and is not going to meet the standards. The other thing I will tell you that we are seeing a lot more of the need to not have an appraisal, even on purchases. So we have the ability to sort of play with the loan. So let's say someone has assets that they don't want to necessarily use. Like maybe they're going to put 20% down, and they don't want to put the rest down, but they could. So we can actually tweak the AU model or the automated underwriting model to try to get that to show as no appraisal needed. And that might be, instead of 20% down, it might be 21, 22, 25. At that point, we're able to go back to the borrower and say, this is now on you. You should talk to your realtor about this, because the lack of appraisal means that this is a value that Fannie or Freddie believe in, that you may want to have either an appraisal done anyway, or trust the modeling and we move forward.
Is it something that can get done as part of the pre-qualification process, or is that really mostly post-application?
Yeah, it's really property driven, Chris. It's the modeling that they have based on the sales of the particular property. So what we might say to a borrower at pre-qual is, if we see that they have substantial assets and they're saying, we just want to put 20% down, we can have that conversation with them then, that, look, you've got 100,000 in excess assets. If once you decide on a property, I can run the modeling and maybe have you put 1, maybe 5% or a little bit more down, but it avoids the appraisal. That's something I might be able to do for you. If you're interested in that, I'll run it. And then at least they know up front what their options are.
Makes them more competitive as a buyer, right?
Absolutely.
As multiple offers scenario.
Absolutely. And it really, to me, expresses the strength of the borrower. Obviously,
Right.
If we have the ability to run the modeling with more assets, chances are they're a slam dunk.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So coming into the fall market, what else do you think everybody should know? I mean, any other tips or?
Well, what I would say is, if you're working with a lender right now that is telling you that they're backed up on the purchases, I would run. That's no excuse. I will tell you, in some cases, there's 50, 60, 70% of their pipeline could be Reef Eyes. And frankly, if a lender's chasing Reef Eyes, they just don't have the focus needed to work with you as a realtor. I think that it's, depending on inventory, it could be a strong market if rates do what we think they're going to do. it could also be a strong refi market if they become the lowest rates in the history of rates. So just be careful.
In the last couple of months, right, or last 3 months, you referenced having a really strong, cycle. What percent of those were refis?
So in the month of August, we took in 40% of our loans were refis. And as I said to you before, Chris, our all-time high in the past has been about 25%. So, the upside for us is that our underwriting turn times have not moved an inch since we've really taken on A, record volume, and B, record refi volume. Make no mistake about it. We understand the purchases are where it's at. We, in fact, have taken steps to push out refis, both in terms of locks and closings, so that they don't get in the way. The purchase market isn't always going to be here. So we would be stupid to let refis get in the way of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. This little rate increase, I was laughing this weekend because I was kind of going through my the feeds I get, and that came up, and I kind of chuckled a little bit about our conversation last week. But it's just a blip, really.
It is, and I don't think anybody's changed their tune on sort of the end of year prognosis. So we'll see.
No, NAR, Fannie and Freddie, everyone's on the same page about rates being the best, maybe the best they've been. Right? They started tracking this 1971.
Correct. Yeah.
So, all right. So I introduced you with the 0% 50-year mortgage. We don't have that really.
Not yet. It's coming. I think in Europe they might, because they have negative interest rates there.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, not everybody moved to Europe. So.
Don't do that.
All right. Hey, and I forgot, folks. So feel free to email questions or chat in questions on the chat feature. Mark, can you hang on for a little bit, or do you have
Absolutely,
to go?
I'm here. Yep.
Okay. All right.
We actually do have a question for Mark that came in. If somebody has a buyer and they have questions about their qualifications, can they ask you even if the buyer is not using Grady's?
You know what? That is a great question, and that is exactly the service we provide to everybody. We want to be your second opinion if someone's already locked up, and by no stretch are we looking to take the loan. Now, if during the course of the conversation they lose confidence in their existing realtor and they decide they want to make a change, so be it. But I would invite everyone to send us over questions, or if you have a CD that doesn't look right, or there are fees there you don't understand, or there's a guideline someone's telling you they must meet, please do reach out to your Great East Mortgage loan officer. We can elevate it to an underwriting manager if your loan officer doesn't know it, and we're happy to do it anytime.
Great question. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, Mark, if you want to hang on for a little bit, we'll see what other questions come in. And this is probably a good place to segue into how fortunate we are to have this Great East platform of mortgage, title, insurance, home warranty, and the richness in the support and the knowledge that we're able to access. And that was a really great question, because even though it might not be a Great East platform transaction, if it was mortgage or title insurance, you can call them and ask them, right? Because they're literally our partners in the real estate process. And over the years, it's provided us with additional financial resources to buy services for our agents, and it continues to do so. And just a higher quality experience, right, in closing out these transactions in an environment that continues to be more complicated. So that's a great question, and thanks for the support on that, Mark.
You bet.
So real quick, let's just talk about the market. So August, so year over year, August this year versus August last year was about even. September is projected to be significantly ahead of last year. We'll see how that settles out. The daily pendings continue to be pretty strong. Had a couple weekdays at the end of last week, but yesterday was a really strong day. I think it was north of 40 transactions for the daily pendings. Year to date, we're down a little bit in units. We're even in volume. We are slightly off to even in listings, and the average commission is still even to last year, which is 2.68%, and that's a really strong number for the average per transaction commission. So congratulations, you guys continue to do a fantastic job on that end. And our sales prices are up. These are all internal numbers. Our sales prices are up a little bit north of 4%. So, most of the markets are behind last year, and we're either even to ahead of where the markets are. So congratulations on a great job. As Mark was talking about, I think the fall market will have a really solid fall market. Again, everything is inventory driven. So if you have some free time and you're not sure what to do with it, go get some inventory. It'll pay off for you. And I think with rates being low, the economy continues to chug along. We've got really strong employment. We're starting to see wage growth a little bit now, which Mark was referencing. A little bit of inflation, right? With wage growth comes inflation, although I don't think it's alarming in any way, the inflation market. So I think we'll have a good fall. The weather continues like this, it'll be fantastic. I think we've earned an extra month of summer through September, so let's keep our fingers crossed. A couple other things about preparing for fall market and next year. So we have the 1-in-1 program, which if you haven't seen it, which is basically a pathway to building a foundation for building your business, into the fall market and into next year. And the 1-in-1, and the 1 is the first quarter of next year. So, a lot of times, the market doesn't really heat up until the end of the first quarter, right? March, or, into the beginning of the second quarter, April. And the 1-in-1 is about how do you leverage your CRM and the resources that have been provided for everybody, so that you've got a running head start into next year, and frankly even into this fall, because you've still got plenty of fall market ahead of us. And it's a great program. It lays everything out. You've got videos, tutorials, a real pathway on how to develop a game plan for the year. So I really strongly encourage you to take a look at that. And in addition to that, one other piece is outgoing referrals. So don't forget, as you're working with people and they're relocating, either coming in and they have a house to sell, or they have a house to sell and they're going to a destination market, contact the business development center and they'll get the referral placed for you, and that's a great source of revenue. And I think each one of those closed referral transactions is about $1,000 in net revenue. So to you, so that's also part of the strong business plan for next year. To kind of coincide with the 1-in-1, we've got our learning library, and that's everything on there from TMG Connect, podcasts, Tech Tuesday, which is sponsored by Delta Media, our website provider, which gives you tips and tools on how to use the website and develop your own personal website. There's social media, videos and tutorials on there as well. So, you've got a really good foundation between 1-in-1, the learning library, to be able to kind of craft your own plan, right? That kind of fits you, that you're comfortable with, going into this fall and into next year. So it's a pretty exciting resource to have, really, internally. And so I hope you're all using that. I just want to talk a little bit about Boost, and then we'll see what we got for questions. So the Boost program, as you know, takes your listings and it literally boosts it into social media. And so program to date, we've got over 360,000 click-throughs on our listings. It's a big number. And we've got over 4 million views of our listings. Now, understand, we've got those numbers and we're only boosting half of our listings. So, not being a math major, right, you could double those numbers pretty easily. And, the whole thing about Boost, one of the advantages, right, is that it gives you the opportunity to meet a buyer for your listing. And I know listings are cycling off quickly. And so you might say, wow, what's the point? Things going to be under agreement in a day. Well, maybe, but you're going to get the opportunity to meet a buyer, maybe even meet a buyer for that listing, right? So your support specialists know all about the program. They know how to do it if you don't want to. But it's literally a couple of clicks and you're done. And I would really encourage you to take advantage of it. And it's free to use, no cost. You can copy your sellers on the Boost process so they can see what you're doing. And especially I think as we're going into, we're exiting the summer market, going into the fall market. I think all these little nuances are really important for how you build your business. And if you could increase your transaction base, right, by just a couple transactions a year, that's real money, right? So would encourage you, right, look at the Win-in-One, the Learning Library, and Boost. So how are we doing for questions? We're good? All right. Mark, anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Just thanks. I really appreciate everybody's support. And if there's anything that we can do to help you in this fall market, let us know. Happy to do whatever we can to support you through this. And thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for making the time. And thank you guys for making the time. It's good to be with you. You're all amazing. And have a great week. Enjoy the wonderful weather. Take care.